Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builder Supply. This video is to bring you a closer look at the IVES number AS18. This is a applied stop is what this is. Now an applied stop is just frankly a simple angle-shaped piece of architectural metal. And it has a specific purpose, and that specific purpose is to stop a door. And we're going to talk about what that is, and we will take some basic dimensional properties of it. The overall length of the AS18 is about 3.5 inch wide. Its overall width is about 1.5 inches. The projection of the stop lip, well, from the back end, depending on how you'll install it, it's either 3/4 or it's going to be about 9/16. Okay. This weighs, let me tell you what this weighs. It weighs 0.43 pounds, so almost about 1/2 pound. At least it does with its fastener package. You'll get fasteners for either a wood or a metal application. It's going to include a couple of inserted rubber bumpers. IVES says that this is the SR64 bumper. It's not the SR64 bumper in the sense that it's just not the same bumper. This has a convex sort of treatment to the outside of it, where the SR64 is quite pointed. But I'll update this extended description when I find out more about what that bumper is. But an SR64 ought to work in here, but I will investigate further. A couple of holes for your attaching. Now the question becomes is, what are you going to use this for? Let's talk about that now. If you are enjoying this video, please click thumbs up or like, and also please consider subscribing to our channel. Let's move on to the rest of the video. So the question is what would you use this for? Well, you would use an angle stop like this, or an applied stop, meaning it's a stop that you apply to your application when you have an application that requires a stop and your frame doesn't already have a stop. Obvious, but where would you indeed use it? So where you'll see this all the time is going to be installed when you have a door that is hung on hardware that would otherwise permit the door to double act. And an explanation or an example of that would be a center hung pivot. So when there is an opening that's done and the defining characteristic of the opening is to reduce the amount of hardware that can be seen or visible, you'll go with a center hung pivot, and then you'll go with maybe a concealed edge pull, so you see very little hardware. Well, because a center hung pivot is likely installed in a cased opening frame, although it doesn't have to be, there is inherently no stop. Well, if you have that door, and from your perspective the door would be a right hand reverse, okay, I'm going to bullnose this edge of the door so that it will work inside of a cased opening frame. Over here I'm going to mortise a concealed edge pull, sometimes called a knife pull, very typical. But I need some way to prevent that door from coming this way. Now the fact that I'm going to only bullnose the door and not radius the door all the way around over here is okay, in the sense that I don't need to radius, but that square corner, that 90-degree corner that is going to be there, should that door be pushed in, that's going to cause damage to the door, to the frame, to the hardware installation. So what will happen is this piece of hardware will be installed here so that the door can't be pushed in the wrong direction. Also, same application when you have a pair of doors. You'll install this or mortise this up to the header is what you'll do. Okay. Now IVES has two applied stops, the AS18 and then maybe the AS12. I forget the other part number. Let's take a look. One is for the AS18. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, it's the AS895. The 895 and the AS18 applied stop. 895 is a smaller one. It's 2.5 inch long and is intended for single doors. Then the AS18 is 3.5 inch long and is intended for pairs of doors. You can use this on single door applications without any trouble, but the AS895 might be more appropriate because it's just smaller and has a single piece of sponge type rubber that's inside of here. Okay, this is available in different architectural finishes. This is made of solid brass, completely non-ferrous. This is a 626 finish, which they call US26D or BHMA 626. 626 means two things. It actually means three things. It's made of solid brass, it has a satin chrome plating, and then it has a clear lacquer applied to it to protect the finish. The US system, the US26D, it means satin chrome, but it doesn't tell us the base material. In fact, you'll see US26D or just 26D used in lots of applications when they are not defining or declaring the base material, whether it be brass or steel or zinc or even plastic. You'll use a US number because it doesn't define the base material. When you need to define both the base material and the finish, you'll use the BHMA system. So in BHMA, 626 means solid brass, satin chrome plated. In the US system, it means satin chrome plated. It doesn't tell us anything else about that. But the BHMA system is better because, well, what if I had a steel-based item? Well, they have a code for that. That's 652. It's still satin chrome, but the difference between 626 and 652 is one's made of brass and the other's made of steel. That's the difference. Let's switch to the screen view and I'll show you an application of where you'll see this installed. If you've not hit subscribe yet, we would very much appreciate if you did, and hopefully you're enjoying this video. Now, let's get back to it. Okay, here's the item that we are looking at, and before I show you a way in which this would be applied, let's go over the extended description. 1.5 wide, 3/4 inch angle, 3.5 inch long. I did give the dimensions earlier, but I didn't give you really a thickness directly, but let me do that now. So the thickness of this is 0.295. 0.295. So 9/32 of an inch, something in that range. Surface applied stop for single and double doors. Includes the SR64 silencer to ensure quiet operation that you can replace. I had mentioned earlier that I don't believe that this is an SR64. And it's because of this pointed feature to it. And plus, this material is machined in such a way that it would work. I can tell that it would work in the sense of the angle itself, the hole, okay, that bumper is sitting in here. Well, what this actually is this has a feature like this, where this is the wall thickness. Oh, I drew that backwards. What it actually is like this. It'll actually more look like this. There's the hole that's through here is not straight through, is what I'm driving at. Okay, so they say it's 3/16 angle. Yeah, it's far more than that. It's much thicker than that. But it is made of brass, or at least it's completely non-ferrous. There is a link to the installation instructions. Let's take a look at those. And this is really just a template or a technical drawing, more so a technical drawing of the item. Doesn't really give you any guidance in terms of where to install it, which isn't really unusual. This is a piece of hardware that can only go in one place and actually work the way it was intended to work. There's also a link to the product brochure that you can view the two applied stops. 2.5 inch long and 3.5 inch long angle stops. Okay. Now let's talk about how you'll use this. All right. So in the application I was referring to earlier, you're going to have a cased opening frame. You're going to have a door. Like this. This area here is what we would call bull-nosed. That term is like the top row of tile in a bathroom. It'd be bull-nosed. If the door was like this, it would be radiused. But there's no reason to radius the door because this door is only going to swing out. We're looking at a left-hand reverse door here. So our center hung pivot hardware is going to sit here. Okay, kind of like this. Door's a left-hand reverse. We are going to have you can have whatever you like. You can have a roller latch. You can have just that knife pull. That would get mortised right here. And you'd be able to flip a little elbow and pull that pull, tip that pull out and pull the door out towards you. Well, you need to have some way of discouraging the door from going in this direction. And in this extreme, exaggerated bevel that I have here, that's going to be, of course, much closer here, right? So that angle stop is meant to be here. And if I was installing it, I would be mortising it flush, is what I would do. By the same token, if it was up in the header of a pair of doors, I would have it mortised up. I would have it mortised to the header. Wow. And it would sit up in this area. And of course this drawing is a bit out of proportion, but nonetheless, this is where your rubber mute is going to sit, right in this area. Okay. And that's where it's used. That's why you use this. You won't use these all the time, but there will be times when you use a whole bushel load of them. And an example of that would be a hotel where you have some sort of concealed pivot hardware. You will have normally closed door position switches so that when the doors are open, the circuit will fall. I'm sorry, normally open door position switches, normally closed door position switches, so that when you open the doors, it will allow you to, I want to make sure I'm saying this right. Yes, normally closed, so that when you close the door, it will open the circuit so that the lights on the inside of the cabinet or the wardrobe closet will be turned off. I just had a client order some door position switches, and they ordered the opposite electrical configuration, where every time they close the doors, the lights are turned on. So they needed that the opposite way, so they had to order different switches. The point is that in hotels you'll see single pole, single throw door position switches to control lighting on the inside, and they're doing all of this because they don't want to see hardware. Okay. You won't see the applied stop at all when the doors are closed. You'll see very little hardware on the opening. And you're going to run into that in certain design aesthetic requirements where you have beautiful... last time I saw it in a hotel, it was all pair matched. It was plain sliced American black walnut, pair matched. Pairs of doors, 2.0 or 1'6" 8.0, and you've got all this beautiful veneer, and you don't want to see hardware, and that's where applied stops are going to come into play. Anywhere where you need to keep the door from going in the wrong direction, you'll use this. Now, you can, I suppose, come up with any piece of hardware that does the job, but you'll order an AS18 or an AS895 because architectural finishes. You can get it in finishes. This being IVES and this catalog cut probably being older, I'm sure that this, well, I'm not sure, but I would be surprised if they couldn't order this in a black powder coat, which has been a fashionable finish for maybe the last 4 or 5 years. And nonetheless. So let's take a look at some photographs that I have of the item. There it is in its packaging. And removed from the packaging. Different angles or perspectives on it. Cross section. That's what it would be That's what it would look like in a cross section when it's installed in a single door in a jamb. Another view of it. The backside, what you would never see. And then your fasteners. Machine screws. 10 1032 probably. Don't quote me on that, but looks like 1032. And then flathead sheet metal screws. Wood, metal applications. Now, there's a link below this video, as seen here, to the manufacturer's page, right here. And when you click on that, we will be able to pull up not only all of the IVES items that we sell by means of this horizontal navigation as seen here, but also a link to the manufacturer's website, as well as a link to their full product catalog that's here. And that's a handy document to go through. IVES is a comprehensive provider of trim and auxiliary hardware for the Allegion family of companies, such as Schlage, LCN, Von Duprin, Glenn Johnson, Doramatic, Falcon, Monarch, Zero, and others. So they have a complete offering of hardware for the entire commercial opening. However, as you see here, there are architectural hinges, there are pin and barrel, continuous geared aluminum hinges, and then everything doorstop, pull, trim and auxiliary, flat good related, as well pivots. Well, IVES didn't always sell this material. I have a couple of archival catalogs here. One's from 1904 and the other's from 1896. 1896, if you wanted to see what IVES made 125 years ago, well, here's the document. IVES, when I first got started in this industry, IVES was really known, or by the old timers. Old timers would think of IVES as a company that you would buy sash lifts and sash locks or window hardware. And what's interesting, as you go through the IVES catalog, well, we're scrolling past mortise bolts that would be used to take a door, a bedroom or a bathroom door, where you have just passage knob trim, and you need to add a privacy function to it. Well, you can do that as a mortise bolt, not as a single unit that's a privacy function tubular lock, but sash locks, and lots of variations, several varieties, more ornate than the last or the previous, on and on and on. Sash lifts, finger sash lifts, etc. So that's what IVES was really known for. And if someone walked in early on and they asked for IVES, it was probably window hardware, is likely what they were asking for. We do, as a side project, acquire, scan, and upload old archival catalogs. I have a 1936 Schlage catalog. I have scores of antique catalogs, many from major manufacturers. So it'll always be in this left-hand area if you're looking for one. And there you go. Let's wrap up this video on camera. If you've made it this far into this video, you must be determined to see it through to the end, and we appreciate your hanging in there with us and watching this entire video. It means a lot. It takes a lot of work to create these videos, in the sense that, it's time taken away from doing other things. However, the advantage for me personally of creating these videos is the fact that it does allow myself to either learn about something new, to reacquaint myself with something, or to reinforce what I believe that I already know. Any comments that you might leave down below would be greatly appreciated. Thank you. In conclusion, fairly typical item that you'll bump into. You're going to see these enough in commercial, even residential construction, where you need to be aware of what they are. Now, the name IVES, again, is synonymous with trim and auxiliary hardware, and I rarely need to call their tech support department at IVES. However, when I do, they're exceptional, and it's a cultural thing in my experience from Allegion, Schlage, LCN, Von Duprin, and all of their sister companies. It's a culture of excellence when it comes to tech support. Occasionally, I'll see an IVES template that's just a real head-scratcher. I have no idea what they're drawing, and I say that because, well, A, I'm having trouble understanding it, but the other side of the coin is I've been looking at their templates for 3 decades, and there are just times when you need to have someone help you. But every time you reach out to them, they're just exceptional folks. Any questions on the IVES AS18 applied stop and a satin chrome finish, and those other finishes, polished brass, satin brass, oil rub bronze, polished chrome, satin chrome. I don't believe there were any other finishes that were listed. Let's take a look. I will tell you, I'll look at the document now. Oh, in satin bronze as well. So a total of 6 finishes you can do. Any questions on this or any other IVES product, please feel free to reach out to us. And thank you. Again, thank you for watching, and if you've enjoyed this video, please click thumbs up, please subscribe, and maybe even send the video to someone that you know. Thank you.